Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. What's going on, everyone? Suddenly, I just started having throat issues. It's crazy. Happy Saturday, March 7th, 2026. As you can see, we're using the Doll Face deck by the Ghetto Nun on YouTube. I don't know, I just felt led to this deck today. And I've been trying to keep the energy fluid by switching up the decks. I'm in desperate need to make some new investments to my collection for sure. And as you may or may not know, I really like to reserve my investments in cards for first the creators that I follow on YouTube, and then entertaining, random or foreign creators' decks that I may not be so familiar with. I don't know, it just feels right to me to do it that way. It just does. But I haven't made any new purchases in a while, and I'm due for it. So anyway, we're going to use this deck today. It's 2:58 p.m. on the clock as we speak, and let's see what we got. Two of coins. Oh, she's got twins. Oh my goodness. Two of coins. So somebody has two equally, two significantly or equally delicate matters to manage at this time. Like they can't, that's what I'm getting. Like you can't really forsake one over the other. That could be your time, your energy, your attention, your finances, I don't know, like it could be two jobs, two relationships, or whatever. Like two things require one person's attention at once. Now, of course, theoretically she can put one baby down and tend to the other, perhaps. But as depicted, she's coddling both, so let's see, what does that mean? And maybe there is a need to multitask quite intently at this time, or multi-manage at this time. Because if one's crying, what if they're both crying? And then how do you choose? You as a mom, you wouldn't want to pick up one over the other, say if she's by herself. So you would probably figure out a way, as us moms do, to take care of all things at once. I don't know, I just feel also, and as the Nine of Swords, I was just about to say, I just feel the caution of overexhaustion, though. Like really conserving your time and energy to your priorities. So maybe there are two things that need to be managed at one, but maybe there aren't. This is Lady of Coins, which I think is like the Page of Coins, but maybe there aren't 5 things that you can do at once. So maybe there are 5 things that may need your attention, but you can only manage 2 at a time, or a small, fraction of what needs to get done. And I feel like with the Nine of Swords, there is some caution of relieving the pressure on yourself to juggle it all at once, if it's just not possible to do so. Because the Nine of Swords is somebody, look, see these little buggers in the background. But that's dad. Dad has a different strategy than mom. Most of the times dads are not going to allow themselves to be stretched, but so much. They're going to be a bit more practical and conventional in their approach, where mom will be dead tired and have one on the hip, one over the shoulder, you know, cooking and cleaning at the same, you know, it's just a lot that sometimes feminines take on, even energetically. A lot of things to think about in your mind of maybe scenarios or potential outcomes juggling in your mind, may be overexhausting is the point, you know. And maybe perhaps with this Nine of Swords, it could be taking a toll on your projection for the future, particularly a clear one and a optimistic one, because the Nine of Swords usually is nervous about what is to come, or you know, an outcome that hasn't even materialized yet, perhaps. Lady of Coins, I believe that's the Page of Coins. I think so. I think the ladies are like the pages. I don't think it's the knight. I don't think so, but I may stand corrected. But this, especially if it is the Page of Coins, it might be the knight though, now that I'm thinking of it. Hold on, let me just do a quick look and see if I see another, if I see a knight anywhere, then that will tell me. Sorry, I just don't want to go off. But to that point, here's a Lady of Cups. It might be it might be, I don't see any knights. It might be, I also don't see any pages, so hold on. 9, 4, 4, 3, 4. I don't see anything. That's weird. Oh no, the lad is the knight. So that, yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty sure. So this means it is the page. So yeah, it could be, you know, almost like obsessing perhaps over an outcome that's going to be regardless. Like the Lady of Coins feels like, I mean, you know, it's like stressing over, real primitive, but stressing over the welfare of your children and how they're going to turn out, if they're going to be okay or whatever. When it's like, you're doing the best that you can, why wouldn't they be okay? You know, why wouldn't they mature and grow up to be, you know, the best that they can possibly be within in your power, and anything outside of that is just left up to the divine or left up to fate at that point. So it really isn't something to worry about, you know. Interesting. All right, let's see. So, and then if that certainly is, which I'm pretty sure it is, the Page of Coins, it's like something is going to turn out for the best one way or another. You know, yeah. I mean, she looks well taken care of. She looks like a nice little girl. You know, like all of your hard work and energy and dedication and the laborious love perhaps that you've invested will manifest into something profitable in the end. It won't be in vain. So it's like best to not even worry about it. Maybe take a dad's approach in some regard, because dads have a different burden, especially, you know, dads that are present and active and, you know, things like that, because they're usually more thoughtful about protecting and providing. So I'm not negating the, you know, the stresses of parenthood on either side. But like I said, there's a different dynamic of strategy when it comes to care about things, and sometimes, you know, it could be a difference in what you internalize and maybe even allow to corrode your well-being unnecessarily, and what you release, or, you know, in some ways just activate a plan in a very masculine energy, so that you know for sure that you've done the best that you could, you know. You've done all you can. Maybe it's just about the balance of both. You know, that makes sense too. All right. Those little kids in the background make me laugh. Six of Wands, yeah, like it's gonna turn out either way. It's going to turn out either way. And it's going to be a positive outcome. Now, it's a little bit questionable what's going on here with the Six of Wands with this Ken and two Barbies. But I mean, they look like they're having a good time. So who am I to say anything different? Like everybody looks like they're enjoying themselves. But it's interesting that that's the Six of Wands. Some of the cards I'm thoughtful about. Some I haven't seen. I don't know if I've ever even seen this one before because I don't use the deck that often. But there's some type of it's giving Three of Wands energy to me, you know, in the traditional deck where it's like a cause for celebration. They do look like they're at some type of affair or in some type of celebratory spirit. And it could be over a victory or over a win or someone perhaps being recognized for what they've produced on the other side of their worry and dedication. And, you know, again, that laborious love, that labor of love, you know, and you can be particularly invested when it's a labor of love, like it's your own children, perhaps, whether we're talking about actual children or not, because you have such a great affinity for it, you know, like I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit type of energy. Shout out to Erykah Badu, where you feel so invested in it coming out a certain way or coming out well. Maybe that's what it is, like having extra care about how people are going to receive receive your creativity or receive whatever it is that you've created. And to me, the Six of Wands is saying that for whomever it's for, they're gonna love it, and for whomever it's not, it really doesn't matter, because what you've created was for you, or what you are creating is for you first and foremost, if it's a pure passion of yours, which means that however it's accepted or not, is really of no consequence. You know, of course, to be recognized for your hard work or for your creativity is always a plus, but it's just an added value to what was just destined to manifest on account of your dedication anyway. You know, so that there will be, maybe there's a call to just lean more into, like I was saying before, like the balance of these energies, where you're leaning less into the emotional aspect of the logistics and just allowing yourself to create, you know, to just flow in the experience itself, and, like, you know, let it be organic, as motherhood really kind of is, because you can read all the books you want, you can take all the best advice from people that you revere and admire, and you still have to go it your own way, and 9 times out of 10 you're still going to have your own twist on it. So there's really no point of comparison, you know, and what somebody is bringing to life and what they may actually be about to share on in a public way, you know, in a public way, or on a world stage, or on a platform, in some way that is to be observed or consumed, maybe even spectated by people outside of you, that are going to have their own opinion and their own objectives and their own perceptions and so on and so forth. So the best you can always do is your best. That's pretty much the message. And certainly don't cater your creativity to almost you know, preempt its reception. You know what I mean? Like to like how you feel it would be most palatable, or how you feel people would get it, or enjoy it. Even it's like you just gotta do what you love and don't care if they like it. In the words of Tina Fey, something like that. She says. Ten of coins. Look at that. Yes. And look at that. The head of the table. For those that, for the whole saying about, if there isn't a seat, you create one or you make one. And maybe that's what some folks have done, which is the nerve wracking or contemplative, at least, aspect of whether or not what you do will be valued at the same level as what's already been done, or perhaps what's never been done. That could be it too, you know. But it feels like more of an emphasis on what has been done, but the nuance that you may bring to it. Maybe if we could literally be talking about parenting, or raising a legacy, living a legacy that may be unconventional. As I said, I don't really know what's going on here. Maybe there's some untraditional concepts or ideals of family and rearing children and building legacy that don't fit into the status quo. And so maybe that's the reason why something is what's the right word, fascinating to others, or will be fascinating to others, but it also it's a very intimate experience as well. So although you may not really mind, or whatever it is that you're doing or creating, perhaps maybe the onset or initiation of it was not for public observation or spectation or whatever, but it is worthy of that just by its unconventionality or its fascinating appeal. But because it's so near and dear, in an intimate experience of you, near and dear to your heart, or intimate experience of yours, it's like, well, shit, I ain't even doing this for none of y'all. And then, if there's value to share, then sure, I don't mind, but don't judge me now. Like, but it's like, you can't really control reactions and responses to what people find fascinating, especially by public perception, because they love you one minute, they hate you the next. And sometimes the trauma and drama of it all is more captivating than than the normalcy of it all. And so sometimes the public will create its own drama or inflate it where it didn't even exist. And so there's something about like exposure, like being sensitive to public exposure or recognition, where you may prefer to kind of just do your thing without public opinion or without eyes on you, but maybe whatever it is that you're doing is just not, it doesn't afford you that luxury, really. Maybe the purpose that you're driven by, which is a much higher calling than perhaps what you even set out to do in the first place, or which could have a higher calling than what you set out to do, doesn't allow for you to maintain obscurity or even maintain solitude or secrecy or be hidden in some way. Like it's just a matter of destiny and fate that you're going to be on display for something, or there's going to be somebody's going to recognize or take notice of something that you do that may just seem like normal to you, or just the normalcy of your choices, but it has some type of appeal to others. Again, though, when you're dealing with publicity in any particular fashion. It's fickle, so you wouldn't be able to control it, and you should take heart, or take solace in the fact that you don't have to. You really do not have to. That's not the responsibility that you own, to either cater your approach or your expression to what's palatable for others, because you'll never be able to please everybody anyway, or to conceal it so that you don't insult or disturb others, because as I said, for whatever it is, however they love you or hate you, what you're doing is really, for a greater purpose than all of it, because it may just be the visibility of what you have to offer, or the expression of it, or what's the right word? Not visibility, but maybe the fact that something you could do is polarizing in the first place is the purpose of it, to bring people to a point to kind of think about how they do a thing, or what their thoughts on a thing are. And although sometimes that opinion gets projected as judgment to whomever, is in the hot seat for it, again, is really of no consequence to you if you're operating in your purpose authentically. And as I said, maybe that's the point, to raise questions, to raise eyebrows, to reconsider, to challenge conditioning, to challenge the status quo. And that's not always it's not always an easy seat to sit in. But apparently it is a prosperous one with the 10 of coins here. So it's like there's much to be gained for your courage to do so, and the ground that you affirm of your personal identity, regardless, again, of the cheers or the jeers, to do that now, perhaps while nobody is watching, instead of investing energy in what would happen if. It would be more productive to ground your confidence and your courage, so that there's no question about who you are and why you do what you do, and maybe even why you have what you have, and maybe that 2 of coins could be something like that, like almost managing, your personal life or personal passion or purpose with the public one, and how to balance those 2 frequencies so that there's as little depletion as possible. Something like that. It's like the great responsibility of your passion, both to you and in the way that it's being publicized or promoted, particularly by the divine. That's interesting. All right, let me get one more after the 10 of coins, and then I'll tell you in a sec. Hold on, let's do one more, because this feels like really simple. I don't want to complicate it. 3 of Cups. That's what I was saying. The 3 of Cups. Oh, that's so interesting. Which are not 3 people. So I don't know. But here it is, like almost a parlay, and your achievements, when you kind of have like an unbotheredness. That's what they give, like quite unbothered, like they're on vacay, or they're in some retreat mode, or some tropical escape or whatever. Oh yeah, so it's like for all that, for all that this great challenge of balance and harmony may cost, like it's clearly no easy feat. As easy as it is said, is not so much done, but it's it comes along with the territory, whatever we're talking about here. But the rewards far outweigh the cost, or the burden or the expenses, I should say, um, if you allow it to, So it comes from continuously reminding yourself why you're doing what you're doing for you or unto the divine, first and foremost, to kind of eliminate the chatter and the static, the opinions, the judgment, um, the intrusions, perhaps, that also come along with the territory, because you wouldn't really want to forfeit the Three of Cups, Ten of Coins, Six of Wands, you know what I mean, for the sake of, to so-called save yourself the trouble, a public display. You know what I mean? It could even be those that just don't really want fame so much as they would love the fortune. And there's a way to have that for sure. Not everybody that is fortunate or even rich has to be famous, but it also does come with this a different set of responsibilities, even when the world or a large portion of the public may not be your audience. There's usually some expectation, like investors or employees or family, or, whatever it is you feel beholden to. It can be on a so-called grand scale or a small one, but it's constantly reminding yourself why you do what you do, to almost re-establish or reignite the passion and drive that you had in the first place, which was something very pure, very authentic, certainly nothing perverted, and what's the word that I want to use, like unprovoked, to some degree, by nothing more than you wanted to do the best for you and the best by whatever it is that you're taking on or looking to achieve or create. And the Three of Cups is, again, just like really the reward for that relentless dedication. In the spiritual sense, because it's the water aspect, even in the passionate sense, because it's like the gratification for what you have done well, what you have accomplished, and then of course the physical reward. All of which, if this is in alignment, if this is in inevitable, there's nothing to worry about. Everything is happening exactly the way that it should. And the people that get it, and the people that don't, that's okay too. Just as long as you allow I feel, God, especially when we're talking about public stuff or fame or recognition, or something that is susceptible to public projection, particularly. The integrity is the key to maintaining the value at its core, and in its essence of who you are and what you do. Not allowing your your sensibility to be swayed in any particular direction because you want to be pleasing or you want to be accepted or palatable, especially when you get to the point of recognition and reward and return on your investment, when it seems to be a bit more delicate of a consideration. Whereas before, like I said, you were doing what you were doing. It didn't matter who was watching. You didn't think anybody was watching. You'd rather that they wouldn't, as a matter of fact. But okay, if they're going to and I can actually gain something from it, oh, fine. Just maintain that organic integrity and the quality of your craft, whatever we're talking about, whatever that craft may be, whatever that creativity may be. So that means that when I get famous, not me or you in particular, but whomever resonates, you don't switch it up for the sake of not getting canceled or for the sake of appeasing one audience over the other, or a more lucrative audience, i.e. pandering. You know what I mean? Because that ultimately would result in the depreciation of the value and quality of your craft, and also in the reward and return for it. Even if you find yourself in a position to make more money doing a thing than you were another way, if the integrity is not there, if there's still not that basis of pure creativity from which you started it, you could have all the rewards and money and accolades and notoriety and fame and fortune in the world, and it would still feel, it would feel empty. The thing that you did because you loved it would suddenly feel empty, and almost like deteriorating to the spirit in some way, because you've allowed it to be tainted, you know. So just don't do that. That's all. Easier said, "Oh, high priestess." As I was talking about crafts, I don't know what you do. But yeah, it could even be in the words that you speak or the messages that you give. Let's say real plain and simple, high priestess, you are a reader or an intuitive, and you were doing things in the way that you do them when you had very few subscribers or likes or whatever. Nobody really was all that drawn or hip to what you were given. And then all of a sudden, as it can happen for some, your channel blows up, you know, or your popularity skyrockets, and now all of a sudden you're getting all these comments, people imposing their thoughts and opinions on how you should read, or what you should have said, or what you shouldn't say. And the cancel cops want to, twist what your expression and make it something that it's not. Or the Christian cops, especially when you're doing tarot, and you may even have foundationally religious views in some way, but you know how that can take a toll on your self-esteem when you have folks that's supposed to love you, and whom in many cases you have a lot of love and respect for, that have their own negative projections to spew against you. All of that can, as humans, it can make an impact, but how much of an impact is up to you. And certainly how much of it you allow to affect the work, the expression, the creation, the creativity, is absolutely up to you. And for some, it might not be as easy as just dismissing it altogether, depending on where it's coming from, or what the source is. But it's still, again, back to the very beginning, is a matter of really managing the priorities. What, even if it's so-called constructive criticism, or criticism with care in mind, it's still up to you. It's still within your authority and your right to prioritize what you intake, or what you implement, and respectfully what you just don't. And I add emphasis on respectfully, especially where it applies, and then disrespectfully where it does as well, to some degree, with no assault, you know what I mean? But just like, no, I don't receive that, or no, I'm not doing it that way. That's not where I'm coming from, or that's not my forte. That's not my passion. That's not my purpose. Like, I know so-and-so may read this way, or channel this way, but that's not what I do, and standing in that frequency of authenticity no matter what, So let's see what's on the bottom. But that's so cool with the Lad of Swords, Knight of Swords. Yeah, and that, again, that could be that energy, like I said, that got something to say. That they got an opinion, they have a perspective. And, the Knight of Swords can be quite aggressive, especially in a traditional deck when you really think about it. So, and insistent either on what they're saying is right, or just in the sheer fact that you gonna hear me regardless. You know what I mean? Those comments that just never cease to amaze me, where it was like, who asked you? And not even on my stuff, when I look at other creators, and it's like, nobody asked you to say that. Like, you could have kept that to yourself. There's plenty of times when I watch creators and I might have an opinion that I wouldn't dare share in their comments. For what? If that's how you feel about what was said or what was shared or whatever, bank that in your mental log or in your consciousness log. But why the heck do you have to impose it on somebody else? I just wish people would be more careful. 333 on the clock as my phone lights up. Okay, I just wish people would be more careful about their thoughts, their words, and their intentions towards others. Especially the word part, where you take the time to actually speak towards someone, speak at someone, or speak about someone. Gots to be more careful out here. You gots to be, because ultimately that energy will circle back around. That's the thing that people online don't even realize, that they're projecting frequencies onto themselves, even when they think they're, just commenting, or just sharing their truth or their opinion on somebody else's platform, of which didn't ask you, So anyway, I'm gonna leave that at that. And we're at 37. I was going to do something, I'll take one. I'm gonna just take one message, because when I was going to pick up these cards, I actually picked up Maji's The Chosen Ones 144 deck, right? And I feel like it's appropriate. I already shuffled them, but I was intentional to get these, the Dollface deck, but then I picked these up because they both come in these felt bags, but one is black and one is purple. And I was like, oh man, that's not the one I want, but maybe it is. So I left them out and figured if I had a little bit of time, then maybe I'll pull a couple of these. So let's see what we got. Shout out to Maji, the High Priestess. Abundance. We love to see it. Should I go for another? Yeah, let's do three. Let's go three. Abundance. This is like an oracle deck. Black sheep. Yeah, there it is again. You may be subject even to judgment from the people that are closest to you, i.e. family. And we know that can take a toll, but you got to follow the lead of your spirit, your supreme self. Oop, one more. All right, one more. I just wanted to pop out, legitimately. Work with crystals. Interesting. Hey, and hey, some of you may be condemned because you like to work with crystals, or again, it could represent some unconventional practice of yours. That's demonic. That is not of God. That is not of You know how it go. You know how it go and how it be. So, but if you know that even something like crystals is not the idolatry of a crystal. It's the intention that you connect to, and more importantly, the intention that you invest into that energy and how it ultimately gives back to you or doesn't, you know? So it's like you may be called to be a voice of reason or clarity, maybe even education to some that are have a misunderstanding, and it's not for the and here it is, it's not for the purposes of changing anybody's mind, but it's for the purpose of being an example of a different ideal, you know, like a different perspective. What This is so perfect because it's like whether or not it aligns with somebody else's beliefs or values or not. Well, I said or not, but emphasis on not, I suppose. Um, it raises consideration, maybe even raises the frequency of curiosity, which is really not a bad thing to have in a world where we've been bombarded by conditionings that have not been for our best good collectively. So it doesn't really hurt to maybe question a little bit what you think you know, or what you've always been told, or what you've been bred to believe, and just hold an open mind for consideration of something else. You don't have to incorporate it, you don't have to have faith in it, you don't even have to agree with it, but that space of liberty and grace is what the world is missing so much of now, because it's what puts us at odds with people and with energies and ideals and concepts that are not even our enemy, and that although it may not work for you or may not be aligned with you, it doesn't mean that it should be condemned because it works for someone else or it aligns with someone else. Like, we can all be a shining example of just an alternative alternative way of living. I was going to say alternative lifestyle, but that has a different connotation. But hey, I said that too with the Six of Wands in this deck, where, you know, if it works for you, it works for you. And who am I to judge? All right. I can only be responsible to share what truly works for me. So, best wishes with you and your your ambitions and endeavors to do the same. Godspeed, much abundance and courage, and rewards for your devotion and dedication, you know, for sure. All right, so I'm gonna leave it at that. That was probably the best message we had all week, for real, for real. So I'm grateful for that. Happy Saturday again. Have an amazing rest of your weekend. I'll see you on the other side of the weekend, most likely sometime this week. I was hitting kind of heavy this week unintentionally, but I'm glad that I did, because I'm kind of in the back of my mind feeling a call to take a little break, strangely, like almost a little spring break through Lent. I don't know for how long or for what particularly, but I feel that in the back of my mind that might be happening. So I'll see you when I see you at some point, nonetheless, more than likely next week. So I'll leave you with the best and most positive intentions in the meantime. And as always, with peace.